Welcome to the Just Be a Man podcast. Each week, we offer commentary from a man's perspective on a range of meaningful topics such as our world, family, relationships, sex, and much, much more. Our purpose is to impart wisdom to our audience through meaningful and transparent conversation. This program is hosted by five brothers from other mothers who have been friends for over 30 years and collectively have over 250 years of experience. Please enjoy the podcast and we welcome your comments and feedback.
Hello and welcome to Just Be a Man. Today our topic is raising children. We have a group of fellas here that are going to discuss their opinions on what they think it takes to raise children from a man's perspective. I want to start with you, Stefan.
All right, well, good evening, Wayne and everyone. Raising children is a unique perspective for a man, especially an African American man. Typically, you have the stereotype that we're not involved with our kids. I can say with this podcast, all five of us are heavily involved with raising our children. For example, my girls are actually adults now, 22 and going on 28. And the unique thing about raising my daughters is I was able to raise the oldest until she was 8, and the second child until she was 2. And then my first wife and I got a divorce, and then they moved back overseas, but I was still able to stay in their life as much as possible, either by telephone communication or by visits, either me being over there or they coming here. So the key thing when it came to raising my children was the fact that the mother was willing to allow me to stay in their lives. A lot of times we have women that become bitter and make it much more difficult to actually participate in children's lives. But I was fortunate that I was able to continue to at least provide guidance, even if I was not there, and ensure that they were well cared for financially, as well as physically when I was able to actually be there for several years, as well as bringing them over here to the States so that they could spend time with me. So I was very fortunate when it comes to raising children. And I know everyone's situation is different, but I was blessed. I can say that. So that's all I have right now.
All right, Steph. I like that. So, do you think that the distance made it harder, that you had to work harder to make that happen, or do you think it would have been the same if you was in the same city, state kind of thing?
It made it harder because there's a 6-hour time difference between us, so I had to be committed to reaching out to 'em and talking to them, as well as whenever I was able to get them. That's an 8 to 9 hour plane flight, depending on which way you're going. So it's expensive, of course. So it made it difficult, but I'd have to say I have well disciplined ladies. They really never gave their mother a lot of grief. Mother was a little harder on them, but they really never gave her grief, so it made it easier. I didn't have to threaten them with physical or financial punishment, just because they were good girls. So yeah, I was blessed. I can just say I was blessed.
And let me ask you this, Steph. Not to harp on this, but just a quick thought. So, do you think that you mentioned your ex-wife being more the disciplinarian? Do you think that because there was some time and some distance between you seeing them, that it made it a little bit harder for you to provide that discipline? And not because you couldn't, because you're still kind of developing that relationship, so you didn't want to come from out of the country and be the heavy. You see
That's
what I'm
correct.
saying?
That's correct. Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I had to walk a fine line, but like I said, I was lucky. I didn't have hard to raise kids like myself. I probably wasn't the easiest child to raise, and my parents enforced that and knocked some sense into me sometimes a little too much, but it's still installed values within me, and I was able to pass those values on to them. So, even to this day, I may not talk to them every week, but we still have a bond and a connection, and they're still willing to be around me, because as teenagers they tend to want to be away from their mothers and fathers and things of that nature. No, these girls enjoyed being with me. At least as far as I know, they enjoyed being with me and still do to this day because they come here as frequently as possible.
All right, Steph. Appreciate that. Mr. Chuck,
Yes,
what you
sir.
got to say about raising children, sir?
Well, that is such a broad topic. The only thing I can say about raising children is there's no handbook. You just have to do the best that you can. You have to reach back and think about all the things that your parents taught you and the way that you were raised, and you just try to impart that on your children and hope that at some point they get it. Especially in today's world, there's a lot of negative influences. Social media, while it's fun, it's there's a lot of positives to it, but there's a lot of negative stuff on the internet also, and I think you see a lot of the effects of the internet on our kids today. So, as parents, you have to set boundaries. You have to set. Well, I've got like seven kind of 6 or 7 tips that I kind of go by, and it's one, you have to be a parent, not a friend. I love my kids to death, but at the end of the day, I am your parent, not your friend. And nowadays, you got kids raising kids, and they're so busy trying to be their friend that these kids they're confused. They can't separate the two. And the next one would be I set limits and boundaries, and rules for my kids, and they have to know that and if they break the rules, there are consequences. Nowadays, there's no real consequences for kids, so they're just they're wilding. You know, kids nowadays they're different than us. I don't know, they're just different, man. You have to listen to your kids. You got to learn to accept them. And for who he or she is. It's hard to hear sometimes that your kid is not, I guess, kind of living up to your expectations or what you and your wife may have envisioned for them. But you kind of, at the end of the day, kind of step back and say, you've instilled in them all the values that you could, and you have to kind of step back and let them live their lives. And then another one of my, I guess, tenets, if you will, is you have to let them fail. Don't be afraid to let your children fail. That's how they learn. I have a saying, I say it all the time. Sometimes you have to allow people to fail in order for them to succeed. You know, um, that's life. Life is it's not pass fail. It's a whole bunch of hurdles in the middle. So they have to learn that stuff, and hold your kids accountable, man. Hold your kids accountable. Um, so oftentimes, if you got a bad kid, you sending your kids to school, and he gets a bad grade or a bad report or whatever, and then you want to holler at the teachers. The teacher's fault. The teacher doesn't like my kid. This, that, and the other. No, you got a bad kid. He's not doing what he's supposed to do. Hold your kid accountable. You know. So that's just sort of some of the things that as a parent I did or am doing for my kids or trying to raise my kids. But again, there's no handbook to this, man. Sometimes you just got to wing it. Life throws you a curve. So that's it for me, man.
All right, Chuck. I like that. There's no handbook. I mean, everyone's heard that a bunch, but it's the truth, right?
Yeah,
Because you have a few children and you got to deal with each of them a little bit differently, right?
Oh yeah.
For the same
exactly.
situation. So,
Exactly.
okay. And you got a mix. Steph spoke about his girls. You got a mix of boys and a boy and girls. So
Right.
you got to
Right.
deal with them a little bit differently. All right.
Hey,
All right. All right.
Hey,
Anything else,
hey,
Chuck?
hey, Chuck, let me
yeah.
ask you a question. Let me jump
Sure.
in real quick. With the quarantine that's in effect right now,
Hmm.
do you find that your youngest, because he's the only one still in high school,
Hmm.
has he lost focus, and how do you deal with that when it comes to his schoolwork?
Yes. There's no doubt he's lost focus because he's not in that structured environment. And we're the ones now trying to pick up the ball of a school environment that we have not been a part of for many years. So, it's a learning curve for all of us, but it's a learning, it's more of a learning process for me and my wife, because we get to see what he does. We get to see how he learns. We get to see things that we would not ordinarily see. Um, and oftentimes when the kids come home and we don't help them with their homework the way that maybe we should. Here we're kind of one on one with them, and we're learning some things. He's learning some things, and so the focus is not where it was. It's kind of all over the place right now, and it's all of us, because it's such a learning curve. But um, it's a beautiful process because we're all in this together and we're learning together, and it's while it's also a school thing, it's now a family thing. And so yes, to answer your question, his focus is off, but um all of us through this whole process, we're all trying to bring his focus, or narrow his focus, and we're trying to become more in line with what am I making any sense?
Oh yeah, absolutely,
Okay,
No
all
absolutely.
doubt.
right.
No doubt. I get it.
All right.
All right, Chuck. Thank you.
You're
Good
welcome.
question, Steph. Hey, Mike, what you got to say about this, brother?
This is Mike. As far as raising children, in my perspective, I had to raise. I'm what you call a satellite parent because due to the situation I was in, I had to exit the household, which left a hole probably in him and me because somebody who you look for every day is not there anymore, and somebody who I look for every day is not there anymore. So I made it a point from my past history of me growing up and my lack of father ship in my life. um I made sure that I did the best I can in raising my son, from a distance. So when I saw him, I think I overcompensate a lot of stuff that he probably didn't need, toys, shoes, clothes. I overdid it for a minute till, my wife said, "Hey, you realize what you're doing," and it brought me back down to earth because I guess I was just trying to fill that void that I still had in me from my situation, and I keep talking about it. Maybe I need to go get counseling. I don't know, but it just made me a better parent. And working in the juvenile correction industry is a wake up call every day when you go to work. You promise yourself you leave that damn building. You say and you get in the car, this is some bullshit. I'll make sure that this boy ain't gonna do whatever. And you can say whatever you want to say and you can do whatever you want to do. But like Chuck said, kids, you gotta accept the kids for who they are and realize it and just do the best you can. So I just wanted to change the MO as far as how my father did things, and I just made sure I was there as much as I can. I tried to enlighten my son as much as I can, but like once again, like Steph and Chuck said, with the social media thing, things have changed since we were kids. So their focus is not always there. But the thing about it is that what I was told, by a good friend of mine, just keep going. Don't give up, keep going. Let the kid know if he don't call you, then text him. If he don't text you back, you keep texting him, until he gets it. He'll never be able to say that, oh, my father don't care about me. He kicked me to the curb. No, if anything, you're gonna kick yourself to the curb because if I text you every day and you don't text me back, and I'm sending you all this stuff, I'm just recuperating my love. I'm just making my love even more, for this boy. Because one day when the floodgates open up and he decides to come talk to me, I'll be ready and waiting to tell him or to give him whatever he needs. And that's it for
Yeah,
me
that's
right
good,
now.
Mike. That's good, Mike. But now, so you spoke about the satellite parenting, but you got a couple at home too. You want to speak on
Right.
that a little?
Yeah. Well, I think by having the two at home, I think it makes it a little hard, a little easier when you have someone, when you have the wife helping you out. I think it's a little easier, but you have to be flexible because one person has one way of parenting and the other person has another way. I've never seen it where people are on the same page because I do things differently. I'll be quick to grab the belt quick. I don't care DCF services. I'm sorry, but I will grab the belt quick, and throw it on the ground, throw it on the table, anything to let people know I'm not playing around when it gets to a certain point where um the wife on the other hand she'll do the social worker, sit down, talk about it, whatever. So I think everybody's parenting is different, but the thing about it is that my kids know even though the way I am, they love me. Like when your son is 12 and he comes, tries to sit on you or whatever, or your daughter comes, and that day where they come and just sit on the couch next to you and lean on you, that just melts your heart. And all the crap I talk, I'm thinking these kids are probably gonna get tired of me. They ain't gonna love me. They know. I think they know what I mean is what I say, and Daddy's right. We're just being, little boogers or whatever the case may be. But when they do the stuff like that, I know that I'm doing something right. When they just want to be next to you, and just show their love for you, no matter how you parent. And that's it for
All
me.
right, all right, Mike. Like that. Okay. Any questions for Mike? All right, Charles. Speak on your parenting skills, my brother.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, like Mike, I've been on both sides of the spectrum. I had a child out of wedlock when I was in college, and now I'm in a situation where I'm married and I'm raising kids, in the typical family structure, if you will. And there are major differences in operating between those two worlds. But in terms of practical application, I would really just sort of ditto a lot of the things that Chuck mentioned in the beginning. Giving the kids boundaries with room to grow and to make mistakes. One of the things that I try to reinforce as a parent for myself is to always be truthful with my children, to speak life into them. You're a great kid, just to, build them up constantly and, try to take advantage of teachable moments. You can find life lessons in just about anything, anytime, any situation, and try to take advantage of those sort of teachable moments to engage with my kids and let them know and train them up in the way that they should go rather. And, make it a point to, even stretch their brains. Sometimes I talk to them about issues that I encounter at work. I would even ask them, what would you do, to resolve this situation, sort of describe everything that happened and pick their brains and again try to stretch them in different ways. And so like Chuck mentioned, again, there's no like perfect parenting book out there to sort of reference and be able to raise your kids perfectly. A lot of it is trial and error. You're going to make some mistakes, but at the end of the day, it's about modeling behavior and teaching them how to be ladies and gentlemen. For my boys especially, I want them to know that, hey, you need to open the door for young ladies. You need to give up your seat. You need to pump the gas. My kids see me, slapping my wife's ass all the time, so it's a way for them to sort of experience, the love that I have. I mean, I know it's sort of a different way of showing love, but I think it's important for them to see, the love that I have for my wife, and just and I just try to love on my kids constantly and really show interest in their lives, so that they know that I'm there for them. They know that and it's not just knowing them as individuals, but I try to make a concerted effort to get to know who their friends are, to get to know their parents' friends. I'm the parent that, for example, my boys play basketball, so I'm always at their basketball practices. So I try not to be that drop off parent, all the time. Sometimes you have stuff to do, you can't be there, but I like to be there. I like to stay for practice, talk to the coaches, pay attention, ask questions. And so that I'm that constant presence in their life. And even with my oldest that I had in college, there was a stretch of time, man, when I first had that kid where I was in college full time. I had a job. I had all these things going on. And even though I did not live with him for the first 2 years of his life, I saw that kid every single day because I wanted to be that presence. I didn't want to be that guy that just showed up every now and then to bring some diapers over. I wanted him to know that I was his father. And to this day, we have a wonderful relationship because of the foundation that was established in the beginning. So, I don't want to go on and on, but again, Chuck nailed a lot of it, maintaining a balance, you know, them understanding that I'm their parent, not their friend, and just try to, again, just continuously foster a positive relationship.
That's good stuff.
Yeah, yeah, Charles, I like that. Um, I don't have any additional questions for you. Do you have? Does anyone have anything for Chuck, Charles?
No, I think
Hey, Charles.
Charles, hit the nail on the head, and I think we all have our own philosophies of how we raise our children, but I think that it's still under the same umbrella. We come at it at a different angle, but it's under the same umbrella. Steph?
I was going to say, Charles, that's something I didn't realize when your oldest was born, that you were there every single day. And I think that is a testament to not only you, but it also means that, your girlfriend at the time, or, the child's mother saw that you were going to be committed to this child, because for you to be there every single day, even if you're not with her, shows that you want to be a part of this child's life. So I assume that allowed you to have a easier time when it came to communicating with him and raising him through her eyes.
Yeah, I mean, I would say so. I mean, me and his mom, because we didn't end up ultimately, being together and marrying and all that good stuff. It wasn't the happy ending type of relationship. We had our issues with one another, but one of the issues that we never had was the co-parenting of this child. There were situations that I recall when, my son was acting up a little bit. He just went on this streak where he was getting caught in a bunch of lies, as it involved his mother. And he needed to know that I didn't support that behavior. So I would go right over there, snatch his butt up, and handle the situation so that we were, presenting this united front, although he wasn't living in the same household. And trust and believe, I thought about it long and hard about the possibility of us, being married and raising him together. But in the end, someone said something to me a long time ago that it's better for a child to grow up in two separate happy homes than to grow up in one miserable home. And I knew, had I put my child in that situation and gotten together with his mother, it would have been a miserable household. And that's just something that I couldn't fathom for myself. And I definitely couldn't fathom that for my child.
I agree.
Agree. Agree.
All
Thanks.
right, that's good stuff, man. Good stuff. All right, so this is Wayne. I'm gonna go last, and I just want to speak on this a little bit. The reason that we bring up subjects that we bring up is we're trying to give experiences that we've gone through, and maybe somebody's dealing with something similar, or they know about something like this. So we have a bunch of different scenarios that we've spoke about so far here. And so what I want to say from my perspective is, I have two children, and I was married and had two children. And by time my youngest was in sixth grade and my oldest was in 10th grade was when we got divorced. So between the birth of the child to these ages or these grades that I just mentioned, I was in the household. It was just, there was the four of us and we were doing all the parenting stuff that we do. The one challenge that I've always had is the kind of work that I do causes me to travel a lot. And so I would my schedule was generally Monday through Friday on the road, and then I get back late Thursday night, or Monday through Thursday on the road, and I get back late Thursday nights, and I would generally be going out late Sunday or Monday. So that was kind of a situation where I didn't have a whole lot of time in during the week, but I would make sure on those Fridays, every Friday, I was bringing them to school. No matter how late I got in, I brought them to school and make sure I picked them up and did all the things that I could do, all the things that happened on the weekend, all the little activities and things like that. I was involved in it, going to these different sporting events and um, theater type things, doing all of that stuff. but once I got got divorced and kind of moved out of the house, I not only moved out of the house, I moved out of the state, and I there was some distance. And so then what I tried to do was to spend as much time with them as I could every other weekend. But one of the things that I really noticed that happened almost immediately because of the situation was um, it was a lot less it was a lot less parenting than it was trying to make sure they adjusted to the situation, if that makes sense. So yeah, I call them on stuff when I needed to, but it seemed like I felt like there were some limitations to how far I could go because there was still this. I was not the custodial parent, so it just made it a lot more challenging. So fast forward, here we are, maybe 5 years later, and my daughter, my daughter's a junior in college. My son's a junior in high school, and so they're both, a lot of time has passed and they're both doing okay. And so my relationships with each of them is a little bit different. I spend a lot more time with my son, in conversations and trying to keep him on track. And with my daughter, she's, as I said, she's in college and she seems to have a decent handle on things as far as school is involved, but we don't talk a whole lot on more personal type things. So we do talk, but we're not talking about a lot of deep stuff. So I wanted to bring that up because I think that parenting is a growing process. And as it's been said over and over, there's not a handbook for it. So you do the best you can. You fit each child, even though they're your children, you have to deal with them a little bit differently. So I just wanted to put that out there for someone who might be dealing with something similar to that. And as I said, my divorce is only, it's been about 5 years now. So that's all I wanted to bring up on raising children and where some of the challenges may come in. Anybody have any questions on that or any statements on that?
Yeah, Wayne, I did have a question for you. If you could just touch briefly on the difference between raising a boy versus a girl. I mean, do you see it as different? Do you operate differently as a parent? Are they different? Is there like a double standard as relates to your boy versus your girl? Talk to us a little bit about that.
Good question. That's a good question. I don't think that there truly is a. So when you brought up the word double standard, I think when you have a male who's looking at a son versus looking at a daughter, they look at them a little bit differently. So and I can say from my perspective, you look at your daughter as someone that you want to protect and make sure she's always all right. You look at your son as someone you want to grow up and be strong and be self-sufficient. So it's like the goals that you have, or not you, the goals that I have or the things that I'm thinking are a little bit different. So yeah, there is kind of a double standard, I guess. But when it comes to raising them, I don't think it works quite that way. I think when someone's doing the wrong thing, you got to call them on it. And you could have two girls that operate completely different, or two boys that operate completely different. So you would have to deal with them a little bit differently. So I don't think it's necessarily a boy girl thing. I think that men gravitate towards their boys a little bit differently than they do their daughters. But I think in raising them, I think it has to work. You have to work on that child regardless of their sex.
That's good
I'm
stuff.
thinking that, the reality is, I believe that there is a difference between raising boys and girls. I'm just talking about me, the way I grew up. I had more freedom than my sister did while growing up. I could stay out later, things of that nature. My parents, I guess they knew or felt like I could protect myself better. They didn't have to worry about me in terms of being sexually assaulted, things of that nature, even though, that does happen to men. But, with me, they only had to worry about basically one dick, versus everyone else's dick as it pertained to my sister. So it was a difference. They didn't have to worry about me getting pregnant. You know what I mean? And I sort of felt the difference growing up, and my sister felt it too. So I was just, curious as far as, today, your situation, whether, that's something that.
Well, let me say this. I hear what you're saying, Charles, but I think another thing that has to do with it is their age, right? So obviously you're the oldest. So you would be you would have more freedom than your sister would just because you're a few years older than her. And so my children are flipped, right? The girl is the oldest, so she obviously branched out first because she was older. So I think that plays a role in it as well. But you're right, there is a difference, and I think from a perspective of how comfortable a parent is with letting your child go out into a party or something. Maybe your daughter can do it when she's 18, but maybe your son was able to do it when he was 16. I could see that. I could absolutely see that.
I this is Mike. I would like to chime in on that. I would say that due to the fact that my daughter's the youngest and I have two, I have two boys that are older. Um, you treat them the same but differently, and I think for her now that this social media thing, people are shaking their ass, swearing, talking about sex, whatever. I let her know straight up. I said, listen, anything you want to ask me, I don't care whether it's about a boy or girl, whatever it is, there's nothing that can't be put on the table. And I asked her, you look at her in the eye, I said, you understand? I know you're only 11. I said, but I'm just telling you, I am that father that, I deal with a lot of this stuff every day, but dealing with your own kids is something different. But I just let them know, I just put it out there and I put it across the table and I tell her, I said, when the time comes, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know, but the rest of it, you're going to have to learn on your own. But I think knowing is half the battle, as they say. So I'm going to I try to do that for the boys, and for her. And the rest is up to them. Like I said, I hope and pray that, they do what they need to do and everything. But I give them the tools. Now, what they do with the tools is up to them. And that's
All
it.
right, Mike. All right, Mike. Thank you. Um, Chuck, you've been kind of quiet, and I don't know if Steph, if you have any final thoughts on this before we move on to our next segment.
I just thought everybody's perspective was extremely interesting. I mean, because I think it just goes to prove it's different for everyone, you know. So you just have to. There's no learning curve. You just have to hope that you're at some point that your kids absorb all the knowledge and wisdom that you've done that you try to impart on them over the years, and that you're alive to witness it. And I've been kind of lucky. I've been able to see myself in my kids. I see them how they, because my kids worked for me at one point, so I'd see them every day, um, outside of the home. So, and I got to see them interact with people, and so it was neat to really see myself, and not just me, but my wife's influence in my kids. Um, so there's no handbook, man. I hate to say it, you got to wing it, but everything that you're doing, is it's your ancestors, man. It's been handed down. It's everything that's it's your parents, your parents' parents. All that stuff is in us, and we try to impart it on our kids, and we just pray to God that they get it.
Yeah, Chuck, that's really, you really hit on that when you say you kind of wing it. I think when you hear the word "you're winging it," it sounds a little bit chaotic, but I think when you're going with the intentions of doing things out of love and out of the best interest of that child, that's all that matters. You're doing the
Right.
best you can for them. So
Right.
yeah, I like that winging it. I think
Yeah.
that's a solid statement.
Yeah. I think so. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
All right. Hey, Steph, did you have something?
No, I think I'm good.
All right. So hopefully, what we've just talked about is going to touch a nerve with someone, or maybe just provide some additional insight to some situations you may be dealing with. We have our final segment here, which is called "Drop the Mic." It's a segment we try to do each session where we just give each person an opportunity to just say something that is on their mind. Doesn't necessarily have to do with what our topic is. It could be with anything on this planet. Just want to get it off your chest. So we just give everyone a little opportunity. So we call this segment "Drop the Mic." First, for "Drop the Mic," we like to start with Steph. Drop the mic, Steph.
All right. Well, my drop the mic deals with the current quarantine situation that we have going on, and the U.S. government's inability to get a coherent plan together. Where I'm going with this is right now we have different states doing different things, and we're interstate type of of society in which all it takes is for me to jump in a car and I could be in Illinois within 10 hours, and I could be in Colorado within 20 hours just driving nonstop. And the scary thing is, I can do that and pass through these different areas and spread the coronavirus potentially, because we have not instituted a mandatory, the entire United States needs to shut down. So, where I'm going with this is that until we get a vaccine, I don't think we're going to have major league sporting events. Therefore, we may not see the NFL this year. I can't remember a time where the NFL was gone except during the strike. And a lot of revenue is tied to that. Major League Baseball is already into it, almost second month without appearing. What are we going to do with the kids that are scholarship students at the big schools or even the small schools? Will the schools honor the scholarship even though they're not playing football and bringing in billions of revenue for the schools, which the kids get nothing but tuition and room and board? Will we see football, as well as even the resumption of the NBA? Will we close out the season where the Knicks once again don't win? Will we, when will the United States government make a cognizant decision to shut everything down now, so that we can wait on a vaccine, we can flatten the curve, if not make the curve go way down? Because these deaths, a lot of people are surviving COVID-19, but at the same time, next thing you know, they're turning around getting sick with other issues, with kidney failure, heart failure, and dying. It's a terrible disease, but at the top level, someone needs to take charge. That's my drop to mic.
All right, Steph, I appreciate you putting that little Nick dab in there.
Yep.
So, bastard. All right, Chuck, Chuck, your turn to drop the mic.
Hey, I'm sorry, man. I had to go get some vitamin C after what Stefan said. I got me a little nervous about this
Yeah.
H1N1. So, I'm sorry. What is the coronavirus? Goddamn. All right.
Yeah,
Anyway,
COVID-19.
all right, man. My drop the mic is real simple, man. Don't email me and then call me to see if I got your email. What the fuck? Come on, man. I can't. Listen. Now, I'm gonna be honest with y'all. This is not
I
really
feel you. I feel you.
my
Go ahead.
drop the mic, but I saw it firsthand, and I thought it was the dumbest shit in the world. So, of course, my wife's home, and she's working from home, and she gets an email, and she says, she's making a noise. Oh fuck! Well, I'm like, babe, what? She said, watch, just wait, watch. Her phone rings. Yes, she gives her greeting, whatever, and then yes, all right, bye bye. She hangs up the phone. I'm like, babe, what's going on? This lady does this shit all the time. She'll send me an email, and then she'll call me to see if I got the email. Why the hell are you sending me emails when you can just call me and tell me what you want? I said, you're lying. She said, I purposely she said, I purposely wanted you to see that. That's why I didn't say anything, because you wouldn't believe me. And so my drop the mic is, people, really, common sense. I just don't, in this COVID-19 house quarantine, work from home, uh self quarantine condition that we're under, people are losing their minds. Common sense is flying out the window. Everybody's home. Everybody's working from home for the most part, at least where my wife is working. But the lady decided she had to send her an email and then call her to see if she got the email when she knows she's home. She knows she's working from home. So, hey, look, man, my drop the
I
mic
got,
is stupid people. That's it.
I Chuck. Hey, Mike, drop the mic for me, brother.
This is Mike. My drop the mic segment is a two-piece, not to be confused with Popeyes. One is finishing off with the raising of children, fellas and ladies, because we're gonna have some ladies listening to the program. We are well balanced. Just commit to your commitment to your child, whether they're with you, whether they're not with you. If they're with you, show them the love you're supposed to. If they're not with you, show them even extra love, just to let them know you're there, and be consistent with it. Don't give up. Don't give up, because I've been on that end. Just keep going. It'll make you feel a lot better, and it'll make them feel a lot better, even though they won't tell you. Number two on the drop the mic segment is meltdown, COVID-19 meltdown at home. Being that I am part of head of household, my wife and my two kids everybody had a meltdown at different segments of the day. And all I can say is, for those of you fathers and mothers who are at home, find out what your kids and your wife likes, and make yourself a meltdown kit. One of those kits. And if they melt down, just give them whatever they like, whatever their favorite cookie, candy, gum, book, whatever. Find out what they like, give it to them. It'll calm them down. I was almost late for the program because my wife was having a hard day, and I had to go get her some dumplings, from Chinese dumplings. Yes, I said it, Steph. Chinese dumplings. And guess what? It hit a home run. Dropped them.
All right, Mike. Appreciate that. Hey, this is Wayne. Am I drop the mic? I just want to say something really quickly. I just want to say, this COVID-19 it's a really serious thing. I know a lot of people are watching a lot of things on the news. I just want to what Steph said is from state to state, it's a little bit different. I just think people need to be safe out there. You go around with people who you go out and you see people who don't have any mask, any gloves, or anything, and then you see other people who are covered head to toe. I think that inconsistency is part of the problem. I have no idea what the right solution is, but I think that if you are going to go out, you need to be as protected as you can. So, everyone who's listening, I just like to say, be as careful as you can. You may not be the person that has an illness or has ill effects from it, but you could definitely come into contact with someone. You could bring it home and touch someone who's real close to you. And so, just be smart out there, people. Drop the mic. I want to move to Charles real quick. Charles, what's your drop the mic segment?
Let me tell you my story, man. I've always been that overprotective dude. Growing up, guys in the neighborhood knew not to mess with my little sister. I didn't want her walking around the hallways of Eugene Burroughs Middle School or Friendly High School with dudes talking about, look, there she go right there, freak of the week. I was not having it. Hell, even now, I look at her husband with the side eye, and he's a preacher. Okay, that's how I've been rolling. But fast forward to now, I have a 17-year-old daughter. On her birthday, my daughter had 3 girlfriends over at the house. Now, my doorbell rings about 2 hours later after the girls arrive, and this pretty Ricky, El DeBarge looking dude, who looks, this guy really likes my daughter. He stops by to bring her a gift, but I have guilty knowledge that my daughter isn't really feeling this dude, so I'm okay with it, right? From what I know about pretty Ricky El DeBarge is that he's tall, he's smart, he's a high school senior, he's a 2-sport athlete, he plays football and basketball. So, a couple of hours pass, my daughter asks if her and her friends can go with pretty Ricky El DeBarge to Cold Stone for some ice cream. So I say, okay, no problem, but just make sure you come right back. On the way to Cold Stone, pretty Ricky El DeBarge's car gets sideswiped by a car full of dudes. Now, the driver starts yelling threats, saying he's going to kill them. All of a sudden, my daughter and her friends are on a high-speed chase through the streets of Bowie, Maryland. The girls are in the car screaming, crying. I was in the shower, none the wiser, had no idea what was going on. My daughter is blowing up my phone, right? I answer the phone. I get out the shower. I'm soaking wet, soap all over me. She is talking about, they're being threatened. So I throw a sweatsuit on, grab some weaponry. I sprint down to my driveway. My wife is already in the car because my daughter had called her also, just frantic, screaming, crying, saying they're trying to kill us. So pretty Ricky El DeBarge had actually gotten cornered by driving into a cul-de-sac at some point and literally had to drive through someone's yard to escape. Now, we finally get to the scene. It's about 10 minutes away, felt like an hour. They're in a parking lot and they're surrounded by 8 police cars. Now, the other car was not at the scene. So suddenly, The police spot the other car that had sideswiped them and they start giving chase, right? My daughter and her friends are looking terrified. Now, even though they're standing right there next to the police, these girls get out the car, they take off running into my arms and into my wife's arms, right? Now, the police, they caught the other vehicle. Now, they had drugs in the car. The driver has priors. He was driving on a suspended license. So those guys are going to jail. So meanwhile, Pretty Ricky El DeBarge is telling us what happened. Now, I have to say that I was proud of him, right? Because, even though he was clearly shook, he made all the right moves that night and he really kept a cool head. So Pretty Ricky El DeBarge starts telling the story and he said, I didn't care about what happened to myself. All I wanted to do was to protect the girls and make sure that they were safe. Now, my wife is standing there. She says, "Oh, you know how women do,"
Yeah.
and she gives Ricky El DeBarge a hug. And you should have seen the look in my daughter's eyes when he said that. I mean, it was the look that only a father knows. That look said, "I'm gonna give Pretty Ricky El DeBarge some ass." There ain't nothing that a father can do about it. And for
Damn.
that brief moment in time,
Okay, keep on preaching, brother.
What happened?
Charles, we lost you, brother.
Lost you.
It was just getting
my
good.
bad. Hey, okay, I'm back. Sorry about that.
Oh, don't worry about it, brother.
And so
Would you had to go? Would you had to go punch a wall?
yeah, I did.
I can hear your blood pressure rising.
Man,
Right.
let me tell you. So, but what's crazy is, for that brief moment of time, I was actually okay with it. I literally didn't even know what it was. Right? But then I came to my senses the next day, right? After all the emotions died down. And I told my daughter with a straight face, I said, you need to stay the hell away from Pretty Ricky El DeBarge. That boy almost got y'all killed. Remember that. And my wife looked at me. My wife looked at me and she said, you have no shame. And I said, and I know this.
That's a good one, Charles. That's a good one, Charles. Hey, we had a really good show, a good ending. Everyone, thank you for joining us this week, and we hope you got something out of this. If nothing else, you enjoyed that last story. So, everyone, tune in for our next segment, which will be coming to you really soon. And thanks again, and just be a man. Keep us on your mind. Use your social media to give us any updates, any feedback, any thoughts you'd like to provide. Everyone, have a wonderful day, and God bless.
Deuces.
Thanks for joining us this week on the Just Be a Man podcast. Be sure to check us out on social media where you can subscribe to our show and/or leave a comment. We will love to receive your feedback. Also, remember to tune in next week for more meaningful discussion. Until then, we wish you peace and blessings.